What's going on, guys? It is the Bad Wolf. We're going to be talking about the law of no law, the art of fighting without fighting, as Bruce Lee said, pretty much, or vague or void or mute for vagueness. What does this really mean? So, in law, and we'll use Georgia as an example. Here, let me get my fan on because it's not hot anymore. In Georgia, they don't have which is a type of obfuscation. They don't have a specific law written directly out and clearly, though their legal department knows exactly that they should, and what I'm about to say. They don't have a clear cut non resident code. Now, why don't they have a non resident code for somebody who's has non resident registration over their vehicle? Well, unlike a lot of states who are just like, yeah, here it is, just get it over with, they're like, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Why would they do this? Well, probably because they're snakes, and mostly because they don't want people in Georgia who are doing non resident registration, which is a constitutional right, so supported by the federal and Supreme Courts, to use your vehicles privately. And there's other states like that. So I'm not going to just pick on Georgia, but they came to mind because I read through their code and they make it very difficult to read it. I still got through it, but they don't have a specific direct code that just says you're exempt from the laws of this state and concerns to public vehicles if you are operating your vehicle as a non-resident and have private or foreign registration. But what they do have is if you're a non-resident, you look up that definition, it says you're exempt. But then it says, but you're doing business or you're operating or you're in within our state for 90 days. Now, when they say within our state for 90 days, they mean the corporate paperwork and you're doing public business in traffic, which are all commercial things to be licensed or governed, not private business or private travel. So they don't have that written out just the way I said it or something near to that. Now, a lot of people, and there's a lot of scumsuckers out there, like watch my videos, and they're like, that's not how the law works. No, you just don't understand the law because you're a bottom feeder generally. And if you understood the laws like I do, then there's written laws and there's unwritten laws. Unwritten laws are called unenumerated rights, which are on the lawful, constitutional, private law, common law level. If you're operating as a U.S. citizen, there's also, which is the corporation, which is the state of Georgia, which is opposite of Georgia state. Two different jurisdictions, two different sets of laws, different ways to live. Whereas even in their laws, now, I don't know how to, let me just say this the way I know how to say it. So I'm reading a court case. And in this court case, I'm going to try to keep this as non graphic as possible. Um, there was a, educationally speaking, but there was a party. And at this party, a female fell asleep, which I don't know why girls would ever allow themselves to get drunk and pass out at a party or drink from open punch bowls or their drinks left unattended. I don't get that. But she did. She was startled to wake up to find a male or two or three performing something in her mouth. She went to sue them for the hard R word, a essay case, And she lost her case, and these guys walked free. Why? According to the law, what she was trying to get them prosecuted under was not against the law because their definition of R, okay, is vaginal or anal penetration. That didn't occur. So these particular sick males walked from the case. Now she probably could have got them for, and I didn't see if she went and went after them again under the prop something proper, but because that law is not on the books for that oral performance, the only things that she could go after them for would be assault. So this means that if what you've done, there's no law against it, they can't prosecute you against it. Just like the word sovereign citizen, it does not have a legal or lawful standing in law. What they're doing is they're prosecuting you as a U.S. citizen who's not abiding by U.S. citizen laws, rules, or regulations. But the sovereign citizen term, which we're against and we're not, because we're private nationals and patriots under the Constitution and 8 U.S.C. 1401 nationals, is that word is like the N word. So they'll call it, they'll say it, they'll etch it on the paper a little bit, kind of hide it, treat you like it. But that's also defamation of character. Even if you're guilty of exactly what they said, even if you are really should be called a sovereign C word, they can't prosecute you under that. And even if that is what you did, you can still sue them over the use of that word. Police officer, judge, lawyer, attorney, any of them. So if you're in Georgia or someplace that does not have a non-resident registration code or it's not written out, your charge against them is that if they're trying to say, well, because a lot of people like to use that to fight their court cases. I've taught you guys that. But if they don't have it, you're going to say that the charge that they have against you is void for vagueness. Because what are they trying to say? They're trying to say that you're a U.S. citizen, but if all your documents say you're not operating in that moment of the event in your private automobile as a U.S. citizen, because under 8 U.S.C. 1401, you have both. You have the ability to be in private or public capacity. And if your argument is that I'm in private capacity, that's then a non-resident, especially if your trust that your vehicle should be in and it's irrevocable, which is what it should be in, they can't find that name registered to the state. Your trust and technically you are operating then as non-residents. That's how the law works. So your argument would also additionally be that the law is vague and you use the closest information. Here's the definition of non-resident, and then you're going to say, well, look, they don't say anything about a non-resident who's operating in non-public, non-commercial capacity. That's what my legal entity is. My private foreign trust, my irrevocable trust, my 508c1a, my private government, my private micronation. That's what those things are. Unless, but if those things have been registered to them or your car is still registered to them, then you better abide by all the rules of the state of whatever state you're in. So if there's no law that exactly identifies what you've done, they cannot prosecute you on that. If they try to find something that's close but not exactly it, or didn't take part. So, like, we'll go back to the story with the girl, right? So, though they violated her, that action would be considered, should be considered the hard R word. But they, and that's in their particular state, there wasn't a law for that. But still, them forcibly touching her was assault, which comes with a lighter punishment. But at the time, that was the best that the law could do. So the law is a funny thing, isn't it? It can work for you, but most of the time it works against you. But if you don't know it, you can't use it, and they'll use it against you. So, once again, if a state does not have explicit rules on being private, foreign, or non-resident, you should draft up your own statement of what you're doing, use their word as non-resident, get that notarized or on an affidavit, and you're going to basically say the state of Georgia does not have a rule for non-residents operating in private capacity that are not registered to the state. You get that notarized. You then put that in with your right to travel packet. And sure, you may have a cop pull you over, or a sheriff, or whoever else, and well, it's just some. But what happens is when you take that to court and you argue it and you challenge it under a um, legal determination and with the court's legal department, you will win because other states have theirs written out clearly. And remember, just because the state of Georgia has their codes, there's also a constitution for Georgia state that is probably going to have your freedoms and rights and liberties mentioned in there because they have to, because they are all party to the Constitution. Even though they can do their own thing to some good degree, they lost their complete sovereignty when they decided to be a part of the United States of America. So our government and that Constitution is the superior law in the land. That's how it works. Don't believe me? That's cool. Go talk to a legal department. I haven't had a legal department yet say I'm wrong, at least in a number of years since I started to get it. There's some areas where it's subject to interpretation, which also is a merit of law that if I can convince the court in seeing things my way, that then can become a fact and they can adjudicate that and say, oh, well, he made his point. He's right. So a lot of these people who don't like my videos or have something negative to say in the comments, it's because you guys don't work in the law. You haven't studied the law for what? You watched a video or you got paid by some government three-letter agency to leave a negative information comment in my sections on my videos. That's cute. But then also ask yourself why judges keep asking me to join them. Ask why the Department of State watches my videos, and when I point out mistakes in the law, which is superior to the courts and judges, lawyers, the Department of State, their legal department has to sign off. It's not like the Department of State, they're just going, there's some regular person's going, huh, look at that. I guess he's right. Hey, let me change it. Or somebody for Cornell Law goes, oh, let me just check it out. I bet he's not right. Oh, shit, he's right. We're talking about people who work in the law department making a decision to say this guy is actually right. It doesn't need, this should not be capitalized. We do not have a law. This is obfuscation. The government's already changed numerous forms based on what I've already done and said. I've studied the law more than most of their legal departments have. I've been doing this for 40 years. A good chunk of it for the last 15 or 20. Come on, man. Why do you think so many other people out there in YouTube land, I like to call it that, um, watch my videos and then swirl this information away back onto theirs? Some give me credit, some don't. See, they watch my videos, I don't watch theirs generally, unless they discover something new and interesting. Not they're not regurgitating information other people do. See, some people cut paths through the forest, and some others walk the path you've already cut and then go in a different direction. Either way, I don't care, truly, intrinsically, because it's getting the information out there. But as always, guys, make sure you're not being ripped off and scammed by anybody. Do your own research. This is all education and entertainment. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys later.